Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. Most people do not really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love. A woman should soften but not weaken a man. It is impossible to escape the impression that people commonly use false standards of measurement, that they seek power, success, and wealth for themselves and admire them in others, and that they underestimate what is of true value in life. Everywhere I go, I find a poet has been there before me. The madman is a dreamer awake. He does not believe that does not live according to his belief. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. America is a mistake, a giant mistake. My love is something valuable to me which I ought not to throw away without reflection. Men are more moral than they think and far more moral than they can imagine. Love and work are the cornerstones of our humanness. The creative writer does the same as the child at play. He creates a world of fantasy which he takes very seriously. There are no mistakes. Public self is a conditioned construct of the inner psychological self. Men are strong so long as they represent a strong idea. They become powerless when they oppose it. How bold one gets when one is sure of being loved. Neurosis is the inability to tolerate ambiguity. The ego is not master in its own house. While love relationship is at its height, there is no room left for any interest in the environment. A pair of lovers are sufficient to themselves. Loneliness and darkness have just robbed me of my valuables. What progress we are making! In the Middle Ages they would have burned me. Now they are content with burning my books. The dream is the liberation of the spirit from the pressure of external nature, a detachment of the soul from the fetters of matter. Conservatism, however, is too often a welcome excuse for lazy minds, loath to adapt themselves to fast-changing conditions. You wanted to kill your father in order to be your father yourself. Now you are your father, but a dead father. The liberty of the individual is no gift of civilization. It was greatest before there was any civilization. America is the most grandiose experiment the world has seen, but I am afraid it is not going to be a success. The more perfect a person is on the outside, the more demons they have on the inside. Civilized society is perpetually menaced with disintegration through this primary hostility of men towards one another. Where such men love, they have no desire, and where they desire, they cannot love. He who knows how to wait need make no concessions. It is impossible to overlook the extent to which civilization is built up upon a renunciation of instinct. How bold one gets when one is sure of being loved. I never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me as a member. Our memory has no guarantees at all, and yet we bow more often than is objectively justified to the compulsion to believe what it says. Dream is the dreamer's own psychical act. Time spent with cats is never wasted. The unconscious of one human being can react upon that of another without passing through the conscious. Nothing that is mentally our own can ever be lost. If children could, if adults knew. We have learned, for example, that the more virtuous a man is, the more severe is his superego, and that he blames himself for misfortunes for which he is clearly not responsible. We are what we are because we have been what we have been. Neurosis is no excuse for bad manners. When one does not have what one wants, one must want what one has. The weakness of my position does not imply a strengthening of yours. Places are often treated like persons. I do not in the least underestimate bisexuality. Only a rebuke that has something in it will sting, will have the power to stir our feelings, not the other sort, as we know. The motive forces of fantasies are unsatisfied wishes, and every single fantasy is the fulfillment of a wish, a correction of unsatisfying reality. In matters of sexuality we are at present, every one of us, ill or well, nothing but hypocrites. Dreams are never concerned with trivia. The distortion of a text resembles a murder. The difficulty is not in perpetrating the deed, but in getting rid of its traces. For there is a way back from imagination to reality, and that is art. I no longer believe that William Shakespeare, the actor from Stratford, was the author of the works that have been ascribed to him.